have a feeling you had steak for dinner, not trout.
Yes. Yeah, how'd you know that? That doesn't make you the Mason Kreskin. Yeah, you're right about that one there. Wish you could pick horses that well.
So here we go. This is our main event, but don't let that throw you off. Still to come tonight is our heavyweight battle between Jonathan Banks and Antonio Tarver. But up now, Austin Trout, Luis Grajeda in the 154-pound weight class. Round one of a scheduled 10.
Listen, I'll tell you right from the beginning, interesting fight for me, but I don't know that it's going to be a scintillating one because for me, both these guys got the same kind of styles. Defensive-minded, counter-punching. You know, they're not guys that look to seek and destroy. But what I find really interesting, who can do it better? Who can do that style better? And as I said in the top, whether or not Grajeda, his best punch to right hand, the southpaw killer, whether or not he can find a spot for it against Trout, who's the better fighter, the more successful fighter, the more experienced fighter, the former world champion, but he has a weakness to right hands, and he showed that in his last fight when he was on the floor twice. Matter of fact, Trout, he's been on the floor in his last 3 fights, and all, you got it, all of them with right hands.
Luis Grajeda does not speak English, but I asked him through a translator what he saw from Austin Trout in his fight against Daniel Dawson, and he said that Trout has a quejada de cristal, which is a glass jaw, Teddy.
Well, that's one way of saying it, and you can't argue it. You wonder about the chin of Trout. As I said, been on the floor in his last 3 fights, and his last fight against Daniel Dawson, most people thought he had no shot at all, Dawson. Dawson put him down in the 3rd round.
It has been a 2-minute feeling out process thus far for Trout and Grajeda. Grajeda told us he was going to come out and be more aggressive. That was the lesson he learned in his loss against Willie Nelson, but so far, no aggression whatsoever.
Well, I just said it. I mean, I wanted to say it to the fans. I always want to be forthright with the fans. They count the most. Not styles that, for me, are conducive to a scintillating fight, but again, an interesting fight. There's intrigue in different ways. Sometimes with pressure is when a house is on fire in a ring, so to speak. And like a baseball analogy, when there's a lot of balls going out of the ballpark, hey, that's fun to watch. But sometimes to watch 2 pitchers in a duel, see who's going to be the first one to make a mistake. They can be intrigued for that too. And for the fight fans, I think that's where the interest will be for this fight tonight. Who makes a mistake and puts something over the plate? Who's the first one to let one go out of the park?
Right now, that answer is no one. They both struck out in round 1. We're back here on this ESPN boxing special, round 2 of a scheduled 10 between Austin Trout and Luis Grajeda. If you're just joining us, a lot of controversy surrounding a decision loss by Tyson Cade, who Teddy had winning all but 1 round. We just found out that Nigel Collins, boxing Hall of Famer Nigel Collins, who's our social media contributor, he had it 118-111 for Tyson Cade. Those of you scoring on our Friday Night Fights Facebook page scored it every round for Tyson Cade. So something does not smell right here tonight.
Yeah, the business of boxing stinks. The sport is still great when it's not tainted by corrupted, incompetent judges, which happens, unfortunately, way too much in this business.
What was interesting, it wasn't as if Escandon's corner was acting like they were winning. They were freaking out. They were panicked the entire time, begging him to do more. You heard Leo Santa Cruz when he was speaking to Bernardo Osuna saying, I don't know what he's doing in there. He's not fighting like he normally fights. They saw panic. They knew their fighter had lost, and yet one judge gave it to him 117-111.
Because they knew the truth of the punches, not the lie of human beings, the lie of judges.
Back to this fight. Round 1 was a snoozer. Round 2, a little bit more action.
Most of the fights for Grajeda have been in Mexico, and most of the fights for Trout have been in Texas. Trout's a bigger guy. but he's a counterpuncher, so being bigger don't matter. He's not aggressive, where he's prone to use that size on the inside. Grajeda, smaller guy, half his career at welterweight, half at junior middleweight. Trout, well, he's been a junior middleweight his whole career. But again, I said it right from the top, styles make fights. And for me, if I'm picking fights, I know that I'm not picking this fight as far as styles to make a great, you know, bonfire fight. But again, the interest is who makes a mistake first, who blinks first, or maybe who steps on whose foot first. And Trout, the southpaw, again, you have a southpaw and an orthodox fighter. That lead right foot of the lefty, Trout, can step on the lead left foot, and he just missed there, of the orthodox fighter. Grajeda, sometimes on accident, sometimes accidentally on purpose, to get a little edge.
Trout lunging in. Grajeda listed as a 10-1 underdog in Las Vegas. So all the pressure on Trout to perform tonight.
Stop at the bell, gentlemen. Time! Good job.
We're back here inside the Pechanga Resort and Casino, round 3 of 10 between Austin Trout in the zebra trunks and Luis Grajeda in the black. Grajeda 17-3-2 with 13 knockouts. No doubt Trout 27-2 with 14 KOs. Trout, of course, the former WBA super welterweight champion, beat Miguel Cotto to win that prestigious title. But since then, downhill. Lost to Canelo Alvarez, lost to Irislandi Lara, then bounced back in a very tough fight right here on ESPN when he beat Daniel Dawson, now looking for 2 straight against Grajeda.
Yeah, for Grajeda, not a lot of confidence lately. Only 1 win in his last 4 fights.
He did have Willie Nelson rocked in the 3rd and the 8th round, I believe, here on Friday Night Fights. And Willie would step up to face Vanes Martirosyan at Foxwoods Casino back in October. Willie Nelson unsuccessful in that fight.
Let him go. Let him go.
Yeah, that was Willie Nelson, a fighter, not the singer. And that came from Grajeda's best punch. Once again, the right hand, and in particular, the right uppercut. That's what Grajeda really likes to throw.
You can see on the trunks of Grajeda, it says Chelita, that was his mother's name, who died of lupus November 20th. He said that he's tried to turn that very big negative in his life into a positive, has dedicated tonight's performance to her. Said he trained twice as hard as he normally does for this contest.
I don't know about that. 5.5 pounds more than his last fight 1 month ago was Grajeda. I can only tell you what the numbers tell me. And Trout coming in the heaviest weight in 6 years. But no matter what the weights are, the styles are the styles, the temperaments are the temperaments, the souls of these fighters are the souls of these fighters, and both of them like to be careful. And there's a step on the foot again. That might be the most interesting part of this fight, is whether or not the southpaw Trout with that lead right foot steps on the lead left foot of Grajeda and makes something happen with that.
And there was Trout doing a little shimmy after he got a reaction out of the crowd.
If anyone's going to be aggressive in this fight, if that responsibility falls on the shoulder of anyone, it's going to on the shoulder of Trout. He's the one who's going to have to press forward. Grajeda's not gonna. He's going to move a little bit, circle a little bit, look to pot shot.
Top of the bell, gentlemen.
And look to land that big right hand.
Right uppercut.
So 4, 5, 6, all right? Come on now. Don't let him get it. We're in a fight, baby. Don't relax.
Copy.
The trainer for Austin, no doubt Trout, Barry Hunter.
Wait, back up.
We'll be listening into Austin Trout's corner throughout this fight as we head into round 4. If you're wondering about Austin Trout's nickname, no doubt, he said he got it when he went to the Olympic trials and no one knew who I was, and he heard people saying he's going to get knocked out, no doubt. Well, he obviously didn't, and the nickname stuck.
Again, if anyone's going to be aggressive, it's going to be Trout. Even though he's not a seek and destroy missile, he'll be the one with the pressure to push the fight, push the envelope a little bit, and mostly it'll be with the jab and left hands to the body. You know, the jab to neutralize Grajeda on the outside, keep him from pot shot. You know, jab to the chest. I think you're going to see that with Trout. That's what I would tell him if I was the trainer. See the jab to the chest just to keep Grajeda neutralized, you know, to stabilize him on the outside, and then look for the left hand to the body, take some of that movement away.
Let's listen in now to Barry Hunter, the trainer for Trout.
Keep walking. Force him to his right hand. Force him right, Austin. Oh, man, you can get rid of him. Don't pull back, hold your ground. Let the left hand come to his chest. That's it. But double it. Double it. Keep jabbing. Force him to his right hand, Austin. He's not comfortable there. That's it. Come on. What I tell you, he's going to fight to get out of there, but you got to get off the line.
You don't hear that too often where a trainer's basically saying, we can knock this guy out, let's go ahead and do it.
Well, one of the things that Trout has to do if he's going to do that is a little better job cutting the ring down. Allowing Grajeda to escape too often. Needs to move a little bit more laterally down the line and take that ring away like he's doing a little bit better now. Close that ring down on Grajeda, who you know is looking to use those legs to stay free and to escape. You cut the ring down, you move laterally with him, and then you shrink that ring. You close the gap a little bit. But again, no matter what Barry Hunter yells, and he's yelling some things that are right, it's the temperament, the soul, the mind of a fighter. And Trout, he likes to be careful.
Wasn't too careful that round.
Time.
Yes, he was. The power punch for the southpaw, the left hand where he can turn into it. He turned into that one pretty well. But Grajeda took it well. You need combinations if you're going to drop a guy who's never been stopped like Grajeda, and one shot, not going to do it. And my partner here, my esteemed partner, said, well, Trout, he wasn't careful that last round. I would beg to differ. He was careful, but again, on his shoulders, if anyone's going to be aggressive and take a little bit of the lead here, it's going to be Trout. Yes, he was more aggressive than Grajeda, no doubt about it, but very gradual, very slow, and very careful.
Here's Teddy's scorecard through 4 rounds. Trout and Grajeda, 4 rounds for the American out of Las Cruces, New Mexico. Our Facebook scorecard reads very similar, 4 rounds to none. Still to come tonight, our heavyweight contest, Jonathan Banks and the Magic Man, Antonio Tarver. That will come up following this, our main event.
So what you can do, and I think Barry Hunter was alluding to this, little teaching going on here, but for the fans, and a lot of the fans, they don't need teaching, they already know, but just to point out something, you got a guy like Grajeda who you know is going to use his legs. You got a guy like Trout who, as I said, the pressure's on him to push the fight, to bring the fight. You got to anticipate where he's going to move. He's going to move to his left or his right, his left or his right. And you got to anticipate that and be there to catch him if you want to really land something with a guy who's careful like Grajeda. And just watch what you do. You got right now, and this is what Barry Hunter was yelling about when he was saying move him one way. Give him a little bit of an escape, like right now, give him a little room to move to his right. Give him that room. Favor your left a little. Let him move to that side. And just as he's about to do it, step over and meet him. In other words, force the guy to move where you want him to.
You want him to move towards your power hand, I assume.
You'd like to try to move him to his right, to your left. And the way you do that is you move over to your right a little bit. You give him a little room to move out to the other side. And then when you think he's taking the bait, so to speak, you step over and you anticipate. You anticipate he's going to do it. You don't wait till he's going to do it. It's too late then. And you're there to meet him. Like right now, you start to step over to your left, knowing he's probably, and that's a good right and left hand to the body. Good left hand to the body. It landed, he tripped, but it still landed, so it's going to be a knockdown.
7, 8, come here.
Grajeda complaining that their feet just got tangled up. That may be the case, but officially it scored as a knockdown.
Yeah, he's not hurt, but the punch landed. He went down. You got a knockdown. It may be a 10-8 round. Take a look at this knockdown. Trout, he's the one pressing. Left hand to the body. Not a devastating punch, but it landed. Their feet tripped up a little bit, and he goes down. You can see he trips over that foot. Not the best angle, but you can see that the lead right foot of Trout did get in the way of the left foot. The lead left foot of Grajeda. No doubt about it. Grajeda was right, Todd, that he did trip, but the referee was right too. A punch landed as he tripped.
You've mentioned several times how Trout can kind of lure Grajeda into one of his traps. What do you want to see from Grajeda right now? Because he hasn't found anything that works.
When it's a fight like this, I'm trying not to use the word boring, but I guess I'll use it a little bit. When it's a fight like this, a little boring and there's not a lot going on, whoever uses their jab, when there's not anything going on the outside, it's got a good shot to stay in the fight, maybe even be ahead in the fight. So at the very least, Grajeda should be using that jab on the outside, not allowing Trout to gain more and more confidence and more steam and momentum and aggression. So that jab is really important right now for Grajeda, and then everything can come off of that later, like that, the right hand, which missed that time. But you gotta stem the tide a little bit, the flow of Trout that's coming forward. And again, the jab on the outside, you know, Grajeda, you gotta go with something that you know your guy is inclined to do. You can't say, hey, come on, let's go in there and be Joe Frazier. He's not Joe Frazier. He doesn't have that temperament. He likes to be on the outside, so at least motivate him to use something on the outside. That would be the jab.
Right now, Grajeda has no answers for Austin Trout, who outside of maybe round one, has been pretty dominant. Trout promised a performance that would turn heads. Trout wants a big name fighter next. He'd love someone like a Cotto or a rematch against Canelo Alvarez. Probably won't get it. In fact, I'm almost sure of it. But he wants a bigger fight, wants a bigger payday, and needs to win this fight decisively, perhaps to get it.
Well, if you're gonna get it, he's going about it probably the right way, Trout, going downstairs, you know, to the body of Grajeda, trying to take those legs, the movement away, and then after he does that, do that, go upstairs.
Lamont, or rather Trout, is now training in Washington, D.C. His sparring partner was Lamont Peterson. Said it's raised his level several steps. Felt like Lamont was a good mirror image for Grajeda.
Well, I said in the fight plan that Trout would like to cut the ring down, use the jab to stabilize Grajeda on the outside, jab to the chest, and go to the body. He's doing that. And then I said that look for Grajeda to start to fall in. That's what Trout has to look for now.
Great battle featuring that man, 46-year-old Antonio Tarver. Why is he still fighting, we asked him.
Well, I'm doing it because, you know, there's a lot of passion and dedication and desire that resides inside, you know what I mean? I mean, even though I've been to the mountaintop, you know, I still feel that, you know, right now, I haven't completed my mission. And I just think that it's to do something that no other man has done, and that's to become the oldest heavyweight champion in history.
It'll be Antonio Tarver and Jonathan Banks coming up next after this battle between Austin Trout and Luis Grajeda in the junior middleweight division. Trout, the former WBA super welterweight champion of the world. Fell on hard times, back-to-back losses. Irislandi Lara and Canelo Alvarez. But he looks pretty good here tonight. Looks sharp against the Mexican. Trout's been a boxing fan his whole life. He got that passion from his mother, who he said would host fight parties anytime Mike Tyson was in action. And Grajeda, who you said needed to land that right hand, hasn't even come close, Ted.
No, because he's being kept on the heels, on his heels, by the jab of Trout. Everybody's seeing the left hand to the body. That's the punch that scored the knockdown with a little help from the trip. They're seeing that, and they're seeing the pressure, but they're probably missing that. Trout is pushing that jab out just enough to keep Grajeda defensive on his way in. So no spot for that pot shot right hand.
Maybe his corner is keeping Grajeda in his cage, like Chris Algieri, and we're just waiting to see when he comes out.
Yeah, that was a ridiculous statement. And I would say no, he's not keeping him in his cage. But he's being
beaten in his cage right now.
He's being locked up by Trout. Again, with the steady pressure, nothing crazy, but steady, careful. Barry Hunter's done a good job with the game plan, that he didn't want him to be reckless. Barry Hunter looked at the tape of the last fight when he took over from the trainer before that in the Dawson fight. He saw that he reached in a little bit and got counted. That's how he got dropped. That's how Trout got dropped in his last fight twice by Dawson. So Hunter said, well, I don't want to see that anymore. So we're going to press gradually. Don't reach, don't overextend. Do it the right way. ABCs, boxing 101. Do it behind the jab, a little bit at a time, nice and controlled. And that's what Trout's doing. No mistakes. No doubt Trout, no mistake Trout.
Grajeda has been completely neutralized. I don't remember one power punch landing this round.
Again, that jab, everyone's seen the left hands to the head and body every once in a while, like that and like that. But it's the jab that's keeping, right there, the jab that's keeping Grajeda in that shell and not allowing him to poke out right hands as Trout comes forward.
3 rounds to go. We are back, and the fight is over, ladies and gentlemen. Luis Grajeda quitting on his stool. That will do it, Teddy. No more abuse for Grajeda here tonight.
I guess what will do it is steady pressure and body punching. I guess that's what does it. And, you know, I talked about Grajeda earlier. I said he was 5.5 pounds more than his last fight only a month ago. I don't know if he was in top shape, but I know Trout, that steady pressure and banging to the body, and as you said, nothing back from Grajeda. Well,
Same on the other
he
side.
submitted in the corner.
Grajeda looked perplexed from the opening bell and just never could solve the puzzle that is Austin Trout, who improves to 28-2. We send it up now to Ray Flores for the official particulars.
Ladies and gentlemen, the corner of Luis Grajeda does not allow him to continue into the 8th round. For your winner by technical knockout, Austin No Doubt Trout.
Is Trout ready for the big time again, Teddy?
Yeah, he's a former world champion. Of course he's ready. And, you know, that's what he wants. You know, he had to go through the necessary steps, these last 2 fights, necessary steps to get back the attention of the people that he needs the attention. You know, stay active, be able to ply his trade. But he's a guy who's a former world champion. He belongs in there with the best guys.
Let's send it up now to Bernardo Osuna, who's with the winner.
Thank you very much, Todd. Austin, your first knockout since 2011. Barry called for it between those 2 rounds. How do you assess your performance tonight?
You know, it was good, but it can be better. So, you know, I got to look at the tape and see what it is, but we know we can get better. You know, I was not the best, so I'll never give myself a 10. But I just want to thank God for the opportunity, Jesus Christ for the victory. I want to thank Al Hammond for making this happen, my Team Trout right here. And bound the headbangers down to Las Cruces, Pat, Louis Burke, my people. I want to thank my kids for praying me. Charlotte, your prayers work, baby.
Now, what did you improve upon that you can take from this victory to get you back on a world title track?
I know I can hit. You know, if I can sit my shots down, I can hit, and it gets sharper. So the sooner I'm back, the better you'll see me.
Austin Trout wants to be back on the world title track. He got his first knockout since 2011. Teddy, back to you.
Thank you, Bernardo. I don't know if you saw that statistic, but Grajeda landed roughly 2 punches per round tonight.
Yeah, well, when you only throw 3, there's a good chance you're going to land about 2 per round. You got to throw to land. You know, you got to be in it to win it. He was never in it.
So Trout onward and upward, his 15th professional stoppage, beating Luis Grajeda. Still to come, the big boys getting ready to rumble.